The XRP case will be over soon. Don't take it from me. This is a direct quote. We got the scoop from Eleanor Terrett, who previously was at Fox Business. Apparently, she's going to be leaving that position to go start up a new podcast. I want to give her a shout out for that. We owe her a large amount of gratitude for actually covering the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit while at Fox Business, one of the few voices within mainstream media to do so. But a quick update here for you guys. We just closed off the daily candle for XRP in the green. We love to see it. We have another exchange that's going to be firing up some liquidity for XRP, following up on more XRP ETFs being filed. You just love to see it. The fundamentals are as great as they've ever been. And I know some people have been shaken up by the market as of late, but it's looking like the bottom is in and we're ready to continue on with this bull run. So let's get right on into it, guys. Huge shout out to Eleanor Terrett for the scoop right here. Two well-placed sources tell me that the SEC versus Ripple case is in the process of wrapping up and could be over soon. Now, I want to give her another shout out, say thank you to Eleanor, and say that I think she should have taken this opportunity to actually plug her new podcast. And that would have been a pretty good one if she said, hey guys, I got the scoop on the SEC versus Ripple case, but you're going to have to come listen to our first episode of our new podcast. I thought that was a missed opportunity she should have taken advantage of, because you know how desperate we are to get the scoop. But apparently the podcast is going to be put together by the SEI network, which is SEI is the ticker. I've actually been holding that crypto for a couple months. I'm down on that position, so maybe Eleanor's podcast will get a few more eyeballs on the SEI token and maybe help me out on that position. I'm down about 50% on that trade, so not going so well. But a huge shout out onto a new journey, a new job from Fox Business to our own podcast. So a huge shout out to Eleanor, and let's get back into the scoop here. My understanding is that the delay is in reaching an agreement due to Ripple's legal team negotiating more favorable terms regarding the August District Court ruling, which imposed a $125 million fine on the company and included a permanent injunction preventing the company from selling XRP to institutional investors. Ripple doesn't want to agree to this, and they definitely don't want to pay that fine. The argument, I'm told, is that if the new SEC leadership is wiping the enforcement slate clean for all previously targeted crypto firms because it believes regulatory clarity will resolve the underlying issue, why should Ripple still be penalized? Accepting the Torres ruling as it stands would mean that Ripple is essentially agreeing to admit to wrongdoing, but now the SEC itself is seemingly unsure whether any wrongdoing occurred. There's no real playbook for this kind of thing, which could explain why this case is taking longer to resolve than the rest. Stay tuned. So that's the scoop from Eleanor Terrett. Two well-placed sources. And if anybody's going to provide an update like this and say, hey, my sources have the scoop, I would trust Eleanor Terrett. Many other journalists that say, hey, I got sources, but I can't reveal them. Trust me, bro. I would usually throw it out the window. But in the case of Eleanor Terrett, we know that she does have good sources. She's been providing the scoop on many of these issues relating to crypto and the XRP case. And so I appreciate her for providing this update. And like I've been saying, like Stuart Alderati said, the chief legal officer of Ripple, this case is over. It is nothing but noise. You don't need to pay attention to anything taking place in the court anymore because this case is over. And I believe, and I've always said here, the reason why they requested that April 16th date to file their appeal response is not so that they could actually buy some time to file that appeal. It's so that they had time to negotiate this settlement. And it's not just like these other cases that can easily be dropped. We're further along in the process. We're in the middle of an appeal, and we already have a ruling from the judge that Ripple needs to pay $125 million and an injunction on any future sales to institutional investors, which Ripple does not want to agree to. So Fred Rispoli expands on that point. He says, I just don't see this being the big issue some are making it out to be. It's unorthodox, but it's not difficult. 1. Regarding Torres' order, she is not going to enforce it herself. Only the SEC will enforce violations. And it really was a very broad and general injunction. She just said, don't violate Section 5 of the securities laws. I mean, that's all it was. Very vague, very general. And she just said, don't violate Section 5 when selling to institutional investors going forward. So basically, she didn't outline how these contracts need to be structured so that they're not investment contracts, But I believe that Ripple's already done so. And that's why I don't think that they want to agree to a blanket injunction to selling to institutions. Ripple wants to say, hey, this is where we messed up. Going forward, we have new contracts with no expectations, with no stipulations, with no obligations or rights. It's a clear-cut, clear-cut, dry situation here where they're paying us money. We're giving them XRP. That's the deal, full stop. That's not an investment contract, and they shouldn't have an injunction on selling to institutions going forward. They also shouldn't have to pay the $125 million, and that's the other fact that's being negotiated right now. The SEC and Ripple can file a motion to vacate the judgment, the cleanest way to dispose of it, telling the court that in consideration for potentially losing our entire crypto jurisdiction if we lose the appeal, we're agreeing to vacate judgment in exchange for Ripple dropping its appeal. Torres is not going to second guess this. So basically, if the SEC said, hey, we got a lot at stake with this appeal, we want to pull this back, allow us to vacate this judgment, we can proceed going forward, and Torres would most likely agree to that. Third point, the SEC doesn't even have to vacate the order. It can simply draft an agreement with Ripple that it won't enforce the judgment for the same consideration set out in number 2. So Ripple, if you drop the appeal, we're not going to enforce any of your sales to institutional investors going forward. You're going to be in the clear. The SEC enforcement manual has all kinds of general vague language that recommends cooperation and settlement over the uncertainties of litigation, so the authority for this behavior is covered. But even if it weren't, who cares? This isn't a good thing. But the SEC and most other government agencies have proven it does what it wants when it wants without regard to due process. Here, it works in justice's favor for once. And so we did get a comment down here I saw from Dark Horse. Of course, Dark Horse trying to provide that FUD, trying to put that negative spin on this, trying to play devil's advocate as usual. And he says, is this legally possible? Sure. But the bigger question, what does this do to judicial credibility? Torres ruled against Ripple. If she vacates it, she's admitting that she was wrong. Well, it's not so much that she was wrong, it's just she didn't clarify. She just said all institutional sales were unregistered securities offering. Was that the case? We don't know because we weren't able to see them. But going forward, can Ripple create these contracts in a way that they're not investment contracts? 100%. So should they have an injunction placed on them, a blanket injunction saying that they can't sell to institutions? Absolutely not. And Fred responds by saying, that's a good point, Dark Horse. I guess it really depends on Torres' ego, and that can be pretty big for a federal judge, but I'm not sure that's the case with her. She can think, hey, this was a novel issue, I gave it my best on, and other district courts have agreed, disagreed with me, and the SEC was pretty shady, so I'll go with vacating my order since it seems like the new administration is finally going to address crypto in a responsible manner. And, she could agree that, hey, I didn't have really an opportunity to clarify this. I didn't have an opportunity to say, hey, these contracts were a security, these ones weren't. And so she could just take a step back and say, you know what? I've served up the penalty, I've served up the fine, but the blanket injunction, I'll pull back on that since the SEC is now going to be moving forward without persecuting the entire industry and companies like Ripple that are trying to do the right thing. And they're trying to draft contracts that are not investment contracts going forward. And so I want to hear from you guys, though, whether or not you think the case conclusion is priced in. We all know it's about to end, but the real question, as it relates to our investment portfolio, is this priced in? I firmly believe that it is not. Now, has some of this been priced in? Absolutely. People are buying XRP right now above $2 because they know this case is going to end and it's going to go higher. People were buying XRP above $3 knowing that the case is going to end and XRP is on its way to $10 and probably higher. So yes, some of it is priced in, but I think by and large, it is not. And I explain right here. I read all of my YouTube comments and watch X all day long. Retail is still playing around with their XRP bag like a settlement isn't imminent. I'm listening to people tell me, oh, I just sold off all my XRP at $2.10 because I'm going to buy it below $2, right? People saying I sold off all my XRP, I'm going to buy the bottom. and then it flips around and they miss the bottom. Whoopsies. Mainstream crypto is still ignoring XRP, right? Many people aren't even talking about XRP still. We're finally getting more coverage, but it's taken us pumping 600%. It's taken Trump saying that XRP is going to be in the reserve. And the coverage that we are getting, although some of it is fair, most of it is still negative. So mainstream is ignoring us. And of course, there's a group that's still out there to FUD XRP. You also have self-loathers in the XRP community that are still in belief that the end is near. These are people that are just have so much doubt, so much uncertainty, so much fear, and they've been beat up and suppressed for so long. And we call them self-loathers because they just think I'm never going to succeed in my life, right? It's the same type of people that have that negative mentality. They're never going to get anywhere in life because they don't have a positive outlook, and they've been so basically covered in this negativity. And trust me, I'm tired of talking about this case too. I mean, it does make for good content, but I'd rather not be talking about the SEC versus Ripple case. And there's just so many people that have tuned this out completely. So retail is still playing around with their bag. I'm watching mainstream crypto, which is still ignoring us. Self-loathers that are still in disbelief, they're probably going to comment down below and let me know that this case is still far from ending, that the case is not over, and that this video is clickbait. They'll probably tell me that too, even though it's a direct quote from Eleanor Terrett, and I'm just reporting what the scoop is from her. That's all we're doing here. And by and large, what I've observed is that retail traders just do not move until they can confirm it 100% by mainstream media or some trusted influencer or the official document being released. They will not believe it that XRP is going to be a reserve until Trump puts out the post. And even then, they still might doubt it. They still are saying, oh, no, Trump's not going to treat XRP like a reserve. It's only going to be Bitcoin. They're still in disbelief. They still doubt it. They won't accept it until the official headline comes across the television. That's most retail traders. And so for that reason, I do not think that the case conclusion is priced in, and I put out that tweet. But I'm interested to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Now, speaking of delays, the SEC has delayed more than 60 crypto ETF applications. So I know we saw the XRP, Solana, Litecoin, and Dogecoin ETFs yesterday. Today, we also had more Ethereum ETFs that were delayed, along with some other cryptos as well. So there's now over 60 plus ETFs that have been delayed here. It's looking like they want to wait for Paul Atkins to come in and be confirmed as SEC chair. They're going to hand this one off to him on a silver platter, and then we'll proceed and go forward, and that ETF liquidity is going to come on in. Now, speaking of liquidity coming in, Binance US is now going live with XRP USD, along with 50 other trading pairs and counting on their platform. Now, this is a very big deal because Binance, the original Binance platform, is the biggest exchange in all of crypto. Binance US, I think, is going to make a significant run here at Coinbase and Kraken and other major US crypto exchanges. But the reason why this is important is because US investors are finally starting to get exposure to XRP. They weren't able to before. We weren't on all of these exchanges. We were delisted off of Coinbase. We were delisted off of all of these exchanges. Now we're back. And we're finally back now on Binance US. It's taken now until March of 2025 to get back on Binance US. So the liquidity is going to come in from these exchanges firing that up. And this is what's helping XRP hold that $2 floor price. And as we see right here on our XRP chart, XRP is now closed off the day here above $2.20. Absolutely love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. Okay. So XRP coming in here, triple tap. We did it back in December. We did it back here in February 3rd, February 28th. One more back test. Looks like we've completed the correction, and now we're moving higher. XRP all the way up to $2.27 today. Right down here at $2.22 right now. But XRP strength on display. More liquidity coming in. Yes, the ETFs are being delayed, but it's not going to be delayed for long. The ETFs will be going live this year 100%. Don't wait for the headline. Don't wait for the official approval. Position yourself accordingly. This SEC versus Ripple case, also over. Don't wait for the official headline. You will be late. Now's the time to be positioned. The profit's going to be coming in as the ETFs go live. This case concludes, additional liquidity coming in from exchange listings, etc. And this is all priming us up for the XRP DeFi explosion that we're going to see later this year as well. So let me know what you guys think about this scoop that we get from Eleanor Terrett. Is the case over? What's your guys' prediction on that? And let me know what you guys think about this case conclusion being priced in. I'm in the camp that it's definitely not. We're about to move a lot higher. And I still do believe in about a $7 to $10 XRP sometime in the next 30 to 60 days. So lock in. Smack that thumbs up if you appreciate what we're doing. All of our content's at zachrector.com. And I just recorded a fantastic interview with Jake Boyle, who is my personal broker at Caleb and Brown. I'm going to be interviewing that. That interview is going to be airing tomorrow, first thing. So make sure you guys have subscribed, hit that notification bell, and all of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. I appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.